Today is the 30th of May, 2024. The 30th of May is a significant date in Nigerian history. On this day, 57 years ago, the eastern region of Nigeria declared itself the Republic of Biafra. That declaration led directly to the outbreak of the Nigerian Civil War just over a month later. The declaration was itself the result of events that happened a year before, when on the 29th of May 1966, a campaign of killings targeting Igbo people broke out in the northern and western regions of Nigeria. That campaign of killings is what our history books refer to as the pogrom. The pogrom was itself the result of events that happened earlier, when on the 15th of January 1966, a coup, Nigeria's first military coup, planned mostly by young Igbo officers, resulted in the assassination of the military and political leaders of the North in particular, and the West as well. The coup would ultimately bring an Igbo man to power as Nigeria's first military head of state. That first military regime would go on to attempt to abolish the regional system of government, thereby upsetting a delicate power balance that had been negotiated for over a decade by the pre-existing generation of Nigeria's civic and political leaders from all over the country. The lopsided nature of the January 15, 1966 coup and its outcome led directly to the outbreak of the pogrom, a campaign of killings targeting Igbo people, whether you were a soldier, a politician, as long as you were Igbo. And it broke out on the 29th of May 1966 and carried on till October 1966 for a period of about 5 months. At the end of that period, Igbo people in the north and in the west were in one of three categories. They were either dead or being kept safe by friendly northerners and westerners, or they had fled back to the eastern region. And the killings also caught up with people who were not Igbo, but either looked Igbo or were perceived as Igbo. So it also affected people from the south, it also affected people from the southwest, and anybody that was designated as Igbo. The influx of wounded, traumatized people running back to the eastern region, fleeing these targeted killings, created a region-wide sense of danger. The thinking was, if we are no longer safe in the rest of Nigeria, then let's go back to where we come from and build our own country there. Until today, it is still a sore point for many Igbo people that Nigeria did not let this happen. The thinking was, if you no longer trust us, if you hate us now to the point of targeting all of us solely on the basis of our ethnicity, then why not just let us go so that we can form another country and we can all be separate from each other? Now, in the heart of that conundrum is a question that is still relevant to us as Nigerians today. If really and truly we don't like people from that other tribe or that other religion, if really and truly we hate them, if really and truly we believe that they are enemies, they don't wish us well, then why are we so intent on remaining together as one country? The answer to that question seems to me to be this, that many of us would like to continue to receive the benefits of unity, the economic benefits of unity, the social-cultural benefits of unity, but we're not willing to pay the price for real unity in terms of tolerance, empathy, the acceptance of the other. So we want the benefits of unity, but we don't want to pay the price for true unity. And this is a contradiction that continues to generate tensions in Nigeria today. Tensions that erupt now and again, and we don't know when the next major eruption will happen, because people are living in a state of tension, staying together when they don't really like, trust, or fully accept one another. And so Nigerians today have to make a conscious decision to choose one Nigeria, to choose unity and what it really means, which means accepting the other person, or to stop the charade of trying to force yourself to live together with people that you don't trust, you don't like, that you hate, simply for economic or other reasons. And today I'd like to urge my fellow Nigerians to choose unity, to choose it with their hearts, because unity is not just about formal or structural or institutional unity. It's also an emotional and psychological thing. I urge my fellow Nigerians to choose unity because it is an existential requirement for us today as Africans. You see, Africa is way behind the rest of the world in this global race, and we'll never catch up until we begin to pull together. It was our disunity in the first place that caused us to be enslaved and colonized in the first place. If Oyo had stood with Nupe, if Sokoto had stood with Benin, we would not have been conquered in the first place. But the Europeans were able to conquer us because they picked us off one by one. So when they are conquering this town, this other town will be thinking it has nothing to do with them and will do nothing. When they overrun this town, the next time they come to your town. So they were able to pick us off one by one, and that made the conquest of Africa happen. Until today, Africa is still being picked off one by the West, by the East, by whoever. And until we close ranks and pull together, we'll never make progress. Unity is an existential requirement for us as Africans. But for us to have true unity, not contrived unity, for us to have true unity, we have to actually accept each other. And accepting each other means forgiving each other for historical wrongs, releasing each other, and moving forward. But forgiveness is intentional. It doesn't just happen. To forgive, we have to be intentional and deliberate about it. That means we have to look back at our past with objectivity. Objectivity means that you're not looking back with the intention of just defending the position of your own people, seeing nothing wrong with what your own people did. Objectivity means looking back at the past to let the facts speak for themselves. So one, we have to look back at our past with objectivity. Two, we have to acknowledge each other's pain. That means that if I say to you, that look, you hurt me, the answer is not to say, well, you hurt me too. The answer is to acknowledge my pain and say, look, I'm sorry. And then I acknowledge your pain and say, look, I'm sorry for what I did as well. So we have to exchange this acknowledgement and apologies. Practically, for us as Nigerians, that means that as Igbo people, we have to understand the significance of January 15, 1966 to the rest of the country. We can't just keep brushing it aside as an inconsequential matter. We have to understand that it really hurt. We have to understand that it was perceived as treachery, that it was perceived as selective killing, that it was perceived as dishonorable, that it broke certain bonds of trust that had existed before then, that it really hurt. And we have to acknowledge this. And for the rest of the country, it means that we also have to acknowledge the pain of Igbo people, the pain of the pogrom, of being targeted as an entire ethnic group just for the actions of a few. That whenever we do that, whenever we punish everybody for the actions of a few, we'll end up creating a greater wrong than the one we set out to correct. We have to also understand the pain of the war, of 3 years of a very bloody war, where Igbo people bore the brunt. And the rest of the country has to acknowledge this and not just brush it aside and say you deserved it. So if we really want to heal, we have to look back at the past objectively. We have to acknowledge each other's pain and say, look, I'm sorry. That's not how I wanted things to go. We have to empathize, see things through the eyes of the other party. Then we have to learn lessons from the past that we can carry forward. We have to look at that 1966, 1967, and learn lessons that we can carry forward. The need to be fair and even-handed in everything we're doing as Nigerians, to be fair to every party involved, to take every party's feeling and position into consideration while acting. That lopsided outcomes would always aggravate. We have to understand that even between enemies, there must be respect. Even if you want to kill somebody, don't kill them like a dog. Don't kill them without respect. Even between warriors, even between fighters, there can be respect. And when we respect each other, when we realize that we are all human beings with strong and admirable qualities, the way we fight will change. Because when you are fighting with somebody that you respect, there are certain things that you won't do. So there has to be respect in our dealings with each other. And lastly, there must always be justice. Justice means that the guilty is not allowed to go free, but the innocent is not also punished for the crimes of somebody else. There must always be justice in our dealings. We cannot do this wholesale punishment of everybody for the actions of one or two. That will always create a greater wrong. So we learn lessons from the past. And then finally, we release each other. Releasing each other means realizing that we are not continuations of historical actors. So as Igbos, we need to stop seeing other northerners, seeing every northerner as an Hausa Fulani person that is bent on exterminating and dominating. And then the rest of the country has to stop seeing Igbos as an extension of Ojukwu, Ojukwu's brother, and Zongo, and all these things. We need to start seeing each other for who we are today. That we're just, many of us in our 20s, our 30s, born after these events, we're just struggling to, feed our families, pay our children's school fees. Those that came out of school are struggling to get jobs. We're going through the exact same socioeconomic problems. And we need to begin to see ourselves as just ordinary people who are trying to get ahead in life, not just as extensions of historical actors. So we can begin to relate with each other and judge each other on the basis of who we are today, not who our ancestors were. It is only when we're able to do this that as modern Nigerians, we'll be able to sit together and resolve our issues amicably, looking at each other in the eye, and stop using terms like Omoigo, Onyausa, Caliphate, Janjaweed, Ofemanu, all these ethnic slurs that we use to resurrect the ghosts and the wounds of the past. And instead start seeing each other as Nigerians who come from different cultures, but share the same socioeconomic reality. And for many people, even share the same sociocultural history. This is the way that we can heal the wounds of the past and begin to move forward into our future.